So real quick, I do want to touch on some of the things that bothered me about reviewers in that the negative things they've been saying about the movie. Often I do disagree with what reviewers say. In fact, I'm pretty sure most people feel the same way about it, which is interesting that we still have these reviewers out. It's sort of why I'm making this review, because I know basically everyone out there gets this movie rocks, but it just bugs me when you look up news on it and on this movie, and all you get is negative reviews. I mean, seriously, the movie got like an 88% approval rate on Rotten Tomatoes, and that site just loves kicking movies in the groin for no apparent reason. And everyone I've talked to personally has loved the movie, and like I said, I've seen it 3 times, and each time was with different people. In fact, I haven't talked to a single person yet who has had anything negative to say about Into Darkness. So, something's up here. Someone's missing something. I already touched on what I think about people saying this movie had no depth, but there is something I would like to point directly at original series fans who dislike the J.J. Abrams reboot, because they say the movies are too action-oriented to be affiliated with the original series. For all of you out there who have that problem with the J.J. Abrams movies, for all of you original series fans out there who say that, all I have to say to you is go watch the original episode Doomsday, or Arena, or the episode where the Enterprise fights the first Romulan cloaked warbird. All of these episodes, and plenty others in the original series, were all about action and fighting. There may have been something else in the background, or there may not have been. It may have been the only focus was the fight. Action-oriented storylines are very prevalent in the original series, so I just do not understand how anyone could even use the fact that there's action in the J.J. Abrams movies as reasons to dislike them. Sure, there were thought-heavy episodes like City on the Edge of Forever, but there were plenty of those Arena episodes too. And don't even try to tell me Arena wasn't just an hour-long, poorly choreographed fight. You can't make the argument of brains versus bronze being the focus, because even the Gorn turned out to be pretty smart in the end. So it was just a fight. It was just a normal fight. You watched an hour-long one-on-one fight. Admit it. Admit it to yourself. You'll be a better person in the end. Another problem I've had is people claiming that the new Star Trek movies had lost their sense of identity. This has become a big talking point ever since J.J. Abrams announced he was doing Star Wars. Everyone's been saying that Abrams has so much Star Wars on the brain that there is no Star Trek in the new movie. That's just ridiculous. Directors take on multiple projects all the time and no one cares. It's only because it's the 2 biggest sci-fi franchises of all time that anyone all of a sudden sees some sort of Star Wars conspiracy. What exactly is causing Into Darkness to lose its identity exactly? Please, tell me. It's not the action. I've already commented on what I think about action in original series stuff, so that's not doing it. It's not the characters. Like I said early on in this review, a hallmark of any good Star Trek original series plot is the back and forth between Kirk, Spock, and Bones. Spock being the logical, level-headed one, Bones being the emotional human side that we really relate to the best, and Kirk being the middle ground, or the 2 perspectives must mesh together somehow. This is very much Into Darkness. Kirk is constantly being counseled by the 2 as to what they think is in his best interest. In fact, this movie does it in a way I don't think I've ever really seen in any other original series plot before. And that's because of the alternate timeline, because Kirk is in such a dark place in this movie. Spock and Bones actually agree on some ideas, and at times, it's just a blast to get a new take on their triumphant. So that's not it either, and it seems to me like the only ones with an identity crisis are the fans who actually think it's not a true Star Trek story. Which leads me to my last problem. I've heard things like, Into Darkness is lacking in identity from a number of reviewers, along with things like, I don't feel like the other cast members got enough screen time, and that's just not how Starfleet deals with things. For those of you who are seeing these things, and I do really want to say real quick, I don't think I have it in here, is the other cast members, for those of you who haven't seen the movie and are afraid that the other cast members are shallowed out and put at a distance, that's not true either. You without a doubt see a lot of Uhura, you see a good amount of Sulu, You see plenty of Scotty. If we're gonna talk straight technicalities, I assure you, go back and count their lines and screen time in the last movie. I think every main character of the crew has been given more screen time in this one, and most of them it's not just screen time. A lot of them, like Scotty and Hura, actually have been developed as characters in this one and not just names, which was sort of a problem I had with it in the last one. Not with Scotty so much as Ahura. In this one, that's just not a problem. The only one that, if you're a Chekhov fan, I would say he does more in this one, but that's not saying a lot. He still isn't in it too prevalent, which is okay. I'm about to get into why, but I'm just saying he's in it more than he was in the last one. It's just not, he's not up there with Kirk, Spock, and Bones. But for those of you who, and this is where I was getting at, for those of you who have just seen the J.J. Abrams movies, or maybe Wrath of Khan because you heard it was so good, which it is, and all of a sudden you think you are some sort of expert on Star Trek lore. Shut up! I've seen just about every episode of the original series, every episode of Next Generation, all of the movies multiple times, and even read a few of the extended lore books, and I would still just barely call myself knowledgeable on the Star Trek lore. It's one thing to say in your reviews that you don't like the movie and why, but to start saying things like that's just not the character is retarded. And there's no way I'm buying that every reviewer I've watched is an expert on Star Trek lore all of a sudden. No matter how much they enjoyed the 2009 reboot, there's no way they all became converted fans and went back and watched all the previous stuff. So please, stop trolling the internet, guys. You are bigger than this. With all that said, that's really all I have to say. That's all I have to say on the people. The movie, excellent. Go see the movie. This is my first review, so I'm still figuring out how exactly I want to go about reviewing other things in the future. I'll definitely be doing games as well as movies, and I'll definitely be doing older things and not just new titles. I'll be doing new titles. I will be doing new titles, but I will be doing older things too, because in case you haven't, you'll figure out that I have no problem with aged things. As long as it holds up, I like it. So I hope you enjoyed this, or at least found my view interesting. You don't have to agree with it. That's the joy of it. You don't have to agree with it. It's just my humble but accurate opinion. Bye.